Hey, what's up guys, it's Thunderstruck115, and today we are going to be taking a look at a video calling out Brother Nier 2.0. What is he calling out Brother Nier 2.0 for doing? Being a AAA shill, which is a very interesting claim, especially considering that the only two AAA games I've seen him play on a regular basis are StarCraft 2 and Black Ops 3. But don't worry guys, he has some overwhelming evidence supporting him. Two videos, each of them over a year old at this point. The first of which was responding to the one boom bitching about cosmetics in COD Vanguard, and the other was responding to someone bitching about amiibos in Metroid Dread. But anyways, let's go ahead and see how Brother Nier 2.0 is a AAA shill.
How's it going guys? Sorry about the late video post. I was planning to upload a video on Friday this week, but due to how busy I've been with my job as of lately, I haven't had enough time to finish it until now.
You know, I absolutely love it when I click on a video and I'm immediately greeted with somebody talking over a static background image that doesn't even fill up the entire screen. Also, you do realize that a while ago they made the community tab available for everybody that has advanced features enabled, not just those with over 500 subscribers, so yeah, piece of advice, keep your production updates in the community tab. That, or just put them at the end of the video because we just want you to get to the fucking point.
On Friday in the upcoming week, I'm gonna stream, so look forward to that. Let's talk about a PNG tuber. Specifically about a fanboy PNG tuber. One who has questionable history of flirting with a minor on his Discord server.
Is this gonna become the new dark side of Griffin Gaming? You know, the thing people bring up in response to Brother Nier when they've run out of arguments? Although, at least with the dark side of Griffin Gaming, that was an actual fuck-up on Nier's part. One that he has apologized for and no longer stands by the way. This is literally just a fucking joke he made towards a friend on Discord over a role on the Discord server that was a literal insult. Like seriously, not one person has managed to provide a compelling argument as to how this is flirting. Also, Sean the Legend, the person that started this whole grooming allegation with this very screenshot, has admitted that he doesn't fucking believe that he actually was grooming and he was just doing it to get back at Nier for calling out his pedophilic ass. Something that was recently brought to my attention by another YouTuber by the name of Big Country. But let's watch the clip to clear up any doubts we have, shall we?
I mean, considering what I did and what I said, it's pretty tame. I'm not going to sit here and excuse my actions and be like, oh, well, I was right for calling him a potential groomer for saying this about a minor and stuff. You know, maybe I shouldn't have said it. I'm not going to excuse my actions or anything. I'm not going to sit here and also sugarcoat shit either and be like, I was in the right for doing this. Because, to be honest, no, I wasn't. And that was my whole plan from the start, was to never be in the right when it came to what I said about Brother Nier 2.0 and what he made as a joke towards Kim Josh-un. No, I was getting revenge, to be honest. Okay? I'm not even going to sugarcoat it to you. Yes, I used this as an opportunity to get revenge against him because of all the shit that he said against me and the fact that I've been told him to stop with this whole situation. And yet, him and his crew didn't.
Again, huge shout out to Big Country for bringing this to my attention. I will link his video in the description below. Please go check it out.
This video is not going to cover his Discord degeneracy, however. That's for a video in the future, potentially.
Then why did you bring it up in the first place? This has nothing to do with the topic at hand.
More specifically, this video is going to be more about his dogshit arguments of him shilling for a AAA company / companies monetization methods. This isn't the first topic that he has spread misinformation like it's the fucking COVID virus. This is just one of the many topics he gets wrong, but for the sake of keeping this video short enough so it doesn't become too long, I will be focusing on this topic exclusively.
You know, if you're really concerned about the length of your videos, maybe cut out the minute-long memes and all the unnecessary production updates. Oh, and the baseless accusations of him being a groomer that have absolutely nothing to do with the topic of the video. If you did all that, I guarantee that would be a really good step towards culling your video down to what's actually relevant to the topic at hand.
Let's take a look at this first argument, shall we?
With cosmetic options. Like, holy shit, man. Is it really this hard to just play a fucking game rather than nitpick whatever bonus content is put into it, all because you don't like looking at it?
Bruh, why is it that everybody that has beef with Brother Nier 2.0 just has absolutely terrible video editing? You know, first it was Sean the Legend, then it was Game King, and now this motherfucker. Like, why is there a black border around the video? And I know for a fact it's not an issue with Brother Nier's videos, because before I recorded this, I went back and watched both of the videos that are referenced in this video. Like, how fucking difficult is it to fucking stretch the video footage so that it looks fine?
The concept of cosmetics of itself is fine, as long as it's not behind a paywall or bloats up the game.
What's wrong with having optional cosmetics behind a paywall? They do not affect the gameplay. They're just a fun little extra that you can pay for if you want it, but if you don't give a shit, just don't fucking buy them. Your gameplay experience is not going to be made worse due to not buying cosmetic items.
There are many other reasons for why purchasable cosmetics is bad and disliked, aside from how it looks. This practice is called microtransactions.
Well, no fucking shit!
I don't think that there is a single person invested enough in gaming to be watching YouTube videos about it that does not know what a microtransaction is. Especially considering that they are fucking everywhere in the modern gaming industry.
Also, cosmetics in games often ends up increasing the game's size dramatically, so that if you were to install it, it would take you a while to install. In some cases, a game goes from double digits in gigabytes before microtransactions is introduced, to triple digits in gigabytes after microtransactions is introduced.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Please give me some examples of games that have had their file size drastically increased because of cosmetics. Because even when games like Halo Infinite add a bunch of cosmetics, you do not see a radical shift in the fucking file size. If the cosmetics are causing such a massive increase in file size, then either they're adding in like hundreds of thousands of cosmetics, or there is an issue with the game's optimization.
When there are that many cosmetics that the game size gets drastically increased, it often ends up with performance issues that makes the framerate suffer greatly, most noticeably on lower spec computers.
Abso-fucking-lutely not. Cosmetics have barely any effect on the frame rate. You wanna know how I know this? When Halo Infinite first launched, it ran perfectly fine on my Series X. And guess what? It still does. In fact, if anything, it runs better now than it did at launch. Even though the majority of what 343 has been doing with Halo Infinite is adding a bunch of cosmetics into the game. Now granted, there are still some performance issues in the single-player campaign, particularly the open world sections, but guess what? The campaign does not have cosmetics, meanwhile the multiplayer does, and it runs at a buttery smooth 120. Also, I hate to point out this very obvious bit of logic, but if somebody equips a cosmetic item that the hardware now has to render, you know what it doesn't have to render anymore? Whatever the fucking default cosmetic is. And once again, this dude provides no fucking examples of this. But I'm just gonna say this, if adding cosmetics to a game causes the performance to tank that much, then there is clearly a greater issue going on with the game's optimization.
Don't even get me started on the heavy microtransactions that include element of gambling through loot boxes and other loopholes to get around the gambling laws. So no, Brother Nier, it's not a nitpick.
Motherfucker, he's talking about Call of Duty Vanguard. Call of Duty Vanguard does not have loot boxes in it. In fact, the last Call of Duty game that did have loot boxes was Black Ops 4. And the overwhelming majority of developers and publishers have moved away from the loot boxes, mostly due to backlash from legislators in the gaming community. And if things keep going the way they're going, I doubt they'll ever come back in full force.
It is perplexing to me how many bugs happened after launch, like just before the holiday break, and they've persisted. I don't want to talk about that too much. I want to focus on cosmetics.
Oh, well, never mind then. So instead of talking about actual criticisms of the game, you're going to focus on literal non-issues, like the cosmetics themselves.
Purchasable cosmetics can be an issue. Some cosmetics can make you harder to see, some can make you easier to see.
Of all the examples you could have used, Counter-Strike is by far the fucking worst. Because the one you're showing is literally the default terrorist model. Also, if differences in visibility are that much of a fucking issue, they can do what Halo Infinite did and just put a blue outline around friendlies and a red outline around enemies. Or do what Black Ops 3 and 4 did and put bright red lights on enemies and blue lights on friendlies. There, problem fucking solved.
It can add a subtle pay to win due to the visibility of the color it gives you. That, as well as how the game size can get gigantic when the developers milk it to no end, as well as performance issues.
I already said my piece on the file size and performance issues, aka a complete fucking non-issue, but I also want to point out the fact that as evidence, he's using a screenshot of Activision reducing the file size of Modern Warfare 2019.
I just don't know where to begin. $30 Metroid Dread amiibo figures increase players' health and missiles.
What the fuck?
So going on from the other week, or whenever it was, probably even a month ago now, when they announced the Zelda amiibo that allows you to fast travel for an extra $20, $25, quality of life improvement, they've done it with Metroid Dread.
Oh no, the horror! They added an option where you can get a little pick-me-up if you buy an amiibo? Whatever shall we do? This is clearly a crime against humanity, everyone. We're dealing with an Avengers level threat. But jokes aside, I'm gonna have to remind you that amiibos are entirely optional, and you do not need to purchase them if you don't want to play Metroid that way.
Ah, the classic
But it's optional
argument. What's funny is that the game you're playing, called Killing Floor 2, had many people just like you who were using that same argument to attempt to justify developer greed from paid-to-win DLC weapons.
Now, I've only put a few hours into Killing Floor 2 before I just put the game down and never returned. In fact, I didn't even know there were DLC weapons until this motherfucker said something about it. But number one of the reasons I put down Killing Floor 2 was that the game was just way too fucking easy. Which is hardly manipulating me into buying DLC weapons. If anything, if these DLC weapons truly were more powerful, I'd avoid them like the plague because it would make the game already even more brain-dead easy than it already is. But you know what? Let's just say that Killing Floor 2 was using scummy methods to get people to buy DLC weapons. My question is, what the fuck does this even have to do with Metroid? Because that's what Brother Nier is talking about, not Killing Floor 2.
Pay to win is not optional when you play to win. That amiibo, in particular, is by definition pay to win.
I mean, if you want to get technical about it, then yeah, it is technically pay to win because you can pay real-world money for an in-game advantage. But is it actually damaging? Fuck no, it isn't. You want to know what the amiibo will give you in Metroid Dread? 1 extra energy tank and 10 extra missiles. That's it. In most 2D Metroid games, but in Dread especially, once you get like 20 minutes into the game and have like 50 or 60 missiles that you can hold max, missiles should not be a fucking problem. Hell, even prior to then it's usually not an issue. Mostly because how many you can hold, combined with the amount that you actually need to kill enemies, combined with how often enemies drop missiles to replenish your supply, means that missiles really should not be a fucking problem more than like 20 minutes into your playthrough. Like, unless you're just constantly spamming missiles and missing all of your shots, you should not be running out that fucking often. As for the energy tank, in Metroid Dread, enemies do far more damage to you in a single hit than any other 2D Metroid game. Even more than Fusion, if you can believe it. Hell, in the back half of the game, some enemies will do as much as 2 to 3 energy tanks worth of damage in a single hit. So the energy tank isn't really going to help you that much, which I know sounds counterintuitive, but think of it this way. When the enemies do as much damage as they do, a single extra energy tank is probably only going to help you survive like 1 extra hit in the boss fights, which is like the actually challenging part of the combat in Metroid. So chances are, if you cannot beat a boss without the extra energy tank from the amiibo, then you're probably not going to have that much better of a chance of beating it with the extra energy tank either. Now, if the amiibo were to give you 10 energy tanks, and then artificially crank up the difficulty to push you into buying it, then yeah, that would be a fucking problem. But not once in my entire time playing Metroid Dread did I ever feel compelled to buy the amiibo. And the only other function is that it lets you top off your energy and missiles once per day, which is kind of redundant considering that Metroid Dread is completely littered with recharge and reload stations that you can use to recharge your energy and reload your missiles without spending $30 on an amiibo.
Time $30. Each figure increases capacity permanently and also acts as a daily top-up. What are you doing, Nintendo? I'm sorry, but this is just as bad as the XP boosters that Ubisoft do in their games, or you get in COD or whatever, where they help you out. This is just as bad.
No, it isn't. Ubisoft and Activision's boosts give the player an advantage for an online game, while the amiibo perks are for a game that is entirely single player. To stretch that into something comparable to that of Ubisoft games or Call of Duty is very moronic to say the least.
So fucking what if it's single player? Giving an advantage for single player is just as bad as doing it in multiplayer.
No. Pay-to-win mechanics in multiplayer games are far worse than ones in single-player games. Because in multiplayer games, if you have a pay-to-win mechanic, like, say, overpowered guns in Call of Duty, then the multiplayer stops being a competition of skill and more of a competition of who can throw the most money at the publisher in order to gain an advantage over opponents. But in a single-player game, pay-to-win mechanics are only really an issue if the game is designed in such a way to push you into buying those pay-to-win mechanics by just making it not viable to play the game without them. Like, let's just say if in the next Black Ops title, Treyarch locks the Juggernaut perk behind a paywall, and then ramps up the lethality of the zombies to push people into buying it, yeah, that would be a fucking problem. But a single extra energy tank and 10 extra missiles in a Metroid game is not really something to bitch and complain about, because the viability of completing the game without it is not that much fucking lower than it is completing the game with it.
Single player has competition too. For example, speedruns or just records in general.
Yeah, and there is a very simple solution that Metroid speedruns, and speedruns for most games actually, have already implemented for like the past 20 to 30 years. It's called different categories. Like, for example, in Metroid, there's the 100% category for getting all the items, the any percent category for just beating the game as quick as possible, you know, glitchless. Hell, Super Metroid even has a category for beating the bosses in reverse order. So literally all they'd have to do is make an amiibo category and a no amiibo category. There, problem fucking solved.
It's not a moronic comparison. It's only moronic to claim that it's less worse when done in single player. In conclusion, you're cringe, and you have cringe opinions. Come up with better arguments next time. And for those who have watched to the very end, thanks for watching.
You're not welcome. Alright, at this point he just talks about some upcoming stuff he's going to be doing on his channel, so I'm going to go ahead and end his video off here. But that's not where the drama ends, folks. Naturally, Brother Nier 2.0 saw this video and wanted to respond to it, so he did a live stream, and guess who showed up in the middle of it? That's right, GKOOPZ did. And GKOOPZ, in his bountiful wisdom, decided that the best course of action was to send his followers to go raid the stream. Now you might be wondering, but Thunderstruck, isn't that against YouTube's terms of service? And the answer is yes. Yes it is. And not only that, but his followers also went and raided Kim Josh-un's stream as well, because he happened to be streaming at the same time and Brother Nier just happened to pop into the stream. And you know what GKOOPZ's response was? Oh, I didn't tell him to go after that guy's stream, I only told him to go after yours. My brother in Christ. You shouldn't be sending anybody to raid anyone's stream. But yeah, take a look at the upcoming clip.
By the way, I did not encourage them to go to that guy's stream, only yours, so you're admitting that you're encouraging targeted harassment. You're blatantly admitting to it.
So yeah, this guy loves to deal out criticism, but he can't fucking take it. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be the end of this video, so if you enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more, and tell me what you think of GKOOPZ being an absolute fucking clown who broke YouTube's terms of service. Anyways, that's it. Peace!